Hey folks, I wanted to do a short video and just walk you through what I've done to my 2017 Street Glide and then talk about how to get to a stage 2 on a budget and basically get the most out of your M8. And so very quickly, this is a 2017 Street Glide and I bought it a few months ago and quickly tore it apart. While I had it down, I put the Vance and Hines power duals and the Torker 450s. That was about 1,500 bucks. And then I installed the SNS 475C cam and the premium lifters from SNS and their adjustable push rods. I also put the Screaming Eagle high flow intake. And then I installed the vented dipstick from A1 Cycles, and I also had put the upgraded oil pump on this 2017. So if you haven't heard, basically 2017s and early 2018s all have an oil pump from the from Harley that the bike came with that is really not sufficient. And so if you haven't heard about it, do your research, and you really should be upgrading that oil pump. But even as I upgraded the oil pump, I was still getting something. So I ride pretty hard, pretty fast, and the vented dipstick, there's a few companies that make it. I chose to go with this one, the A1 Cycles version. And I just have had it on for a few days, so I don't really have some feedback on that yet. And then obviously I installed the SoundStream radio. I think some of you may have seen the video that I put for the install. And so far I've had it on for a few weeks and it's great. I don't have anything negative to say about it yet. So yeah, maybe another couple months I'll do a review and let you know how it's been. But yeah, so I think what I'll do now is kind of walk you through the pricing of all that I've done, and then we'll talk about how to get there with on a budget. All right, I'm going to give you a quick sound check on this SNS 475 cam with the power duals and the Torker 450s. It really has some serious thumping at idle, and I've turned the idle. I think I'm idling around 940, 950, somewhere in there. So yeah, it's got the sound that I was looking for, and I really love the sound. I think the performance that I was able to get, I'm at 110 horsepower and about 119 foot-pounds of torque. And I've done both Vance and Hines FP3 and the tuner, the Power Vision tuner, and really there wasn't much difference between the two. I think where you will get the difference between going with the FP3 and the Power Vision is when you have some head work or something beyond a stage 2. That's really where you have to fine tune the performance of the motor and get the most out of it. But anyways, here's a sound check. I'll quickly give you what it sounds like. All right, folks, on the left are the items that I installed on my 2017 Street Glide, the 107 M8, and it cost me $2,876. I'll quickly go through the list. The upgraded oil pump, which is a must if you have a 2017 or an early 2018 model. The oil pump that came with it from Harley is insufficient, so they offer an upgraded version, and it's about $150. But I bought it from shoputah.com. It's a Harley dealership in Utah, and they have the best prices, and I got it for $128. And then the next item is the 475 C-Cam from SNS and the premium lifters and the adjustable push rods. I went with the 475 as it's the most aggressive cam at idle, and I was really looking for a very tough sounding cam and that by far, 475 by far is the most aggressive at idle. So I bought that package at 530. The power duals and Torker 450s I bought from Amazon, and I had heard those installed on a Street Glide in Sturgis, and I really liked the sound, and so that's why I went with that. The S&S tappet cuffs, so I think all of you know what those are. $70 from Stromoto. And then the S&S, or excuse me, the Screaming Eagle high flow intake, again from Shop Utah. I got that for $160. And then the M8 bearing removal kit I bought from Amazon for $70. And there is a higher end one that most people use. It's like $250, and I bought this one. I've used them both, and this one is just as good as the other one. It installs the bearing to the right depth without any type of special knowledge or skill that's needed, so it really helps. And then the push rod covers, I bought the shorter push rod covers for the adjustable push rods, and you can actually use your stock push rods and still make those adjustments, but I chose to go with the shorter version. Then the FP3 at $400 with auto tune. I got a good deal on that one, and I actually used both on this bike, the Power Vision from Dynajet and the FP3, and both had literally the same performance, right about 110 horsepower and 119 foot-pounds of torque. So on the right you have a list of components that are essentially the same that I have on my current bike on the left, except for what I would consider a stage 2 build on a budget. That comes in at $1,958, and the difference between what I have and what I'm recommending is the exhaust. I'm recommending the 2-in-1 Cobra or S&S pipe. They both come in at about $600, and both would offer the same performance for this stage 2 upgrade, and you would get to right around 109, 110 horsepower and 119 foot-pounds of torque. I've done several bikes using these components, and there hasn't been much difference. I've gone with both Power Vision and the Vance & Hines FP3, and virtually no difference except for cost. Going with the Power Vision, you would pay roughly $450 to $500, plus you'd have to pay for the tune, as opposed to the Vance & Hines FP3, you could actually do it yourself. So yeah, for stage 2, definitely recommend the FP3 just because of cost, but anything beyond a stage 2, I would definitely go with the Power Vision, as you can have better tunability to get the performance that you need out of your upgrade. So there you have it. I would definitely do it yourself. You know, doing this or paying someone to do it, you would probably pay parts plus another couple grand, total maybe $4,000 to $4,500 out the door. So doing this yourself is clearly a good way to save money, and it's not so technical. I mean, there are a lot of good videos out there that would help you install all these components, and again, it's not very technical, and the only tool that I would recommend to buy would be the bearing removal kit, which is a tool that would remove the cam bearing, and the tool that would reinstall the new cam bearing. And yeah, that would be probably the only tough part of this upgrade. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please provide those below,